Hi friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Barb. This is my 13th floss tube, lucky number 13. I still can't believe I've done that many, and I know I had talked about doing it for a few years. To myself, of course, I was talking. And then one day I just did it, so I'm glad you're here. I do see that I picked up a couple of new friends. I am inching closer to 50 friends, and I'm excited. I look at some of our floss tubers, and they have thousands of viewers, and I know I'm one of those thousands because there are quite a few floss tubers that I watch all of the time. I look forward to them. It's like comfort. I am glad you're here. I welcome you to my sunroom. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about cross stitch. I do have 2 fully finishes, and I'm quite excited about that. I also have a crochet project that I'm going to show you. I spoke about it last week. And just a few whips that I worked on this week. It was kind of a busy week between babysitting and working. Next week it's going to be even a little bit more busy, which is absolutely fine. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to fully function at the senior citizen level, as well as dealing and going through a cancer diagnosis. I know I am very, very fortunate, and I live each day being very thankful that I am. So let me start. I'm going to show you my whips. I worked on just a few things this week, as I mentioned. Last night I was watching Flosstube. I watched the Primrose Ladies, and they had a really long Flosstube because all of the sisters were on. So I figured I would pick up something that I knew I could not have to focus as much. So this is Chester's Place by Whistlestop Stitcher. And what I worked on last night is the fill-in of the house. Now there's still a lot to do on this design. It's deceiving. The house is pretty much full coverage in the sense for the house itself. The white trimming, the red bricks, the black inside of the windows, the roof, the chimney. There's a lot of stitching there. Now I am going to make a change to this. All of the animals that are across the bottom, I will change and chart some dogs. Now I have English Labs. I am on my 6th and 7th English Lab. I've had 2 yellow females. I've had 2 black females and 3 black males. So right now I have Pip, who is 10, just turned 10 in January, and then there's Chet, the puppy. He will be 2 next month. And he's a handful. He's 97 pounds, and he's all English Lab. And he's adorable, and I love him. And yes, I take him to classes, and yes, we're working toward our CGC, and there might even be a CGCA, and who knows, maybe even a CGCU in his future. But first, we got to start at the bottom. But anyway, so this particular pattern, I know, was designed to help, I believe it was a kitty cat that needed some veterinary care. And the proceeds went to that particular pet. So the pets that are charted on here, there's a horse and a chicken and cat and dog. And so I'm going to rechart those animals and just put the 7 labs across the bottom with my initials. And shame on me for taking this long, because I've really worked on this a little bit too long, right? For something that really is quite easy. And this, I'm stitching it on Ada. I have 18 count Rustico Ada by Zweigart, which I picked up at Hobby House. And, I really like it. I generally don't stitch that much on Ada anymore. But it was something that I had in my stash, and oh my gosh, I'm looking at this thinking, did I stitch the flower wrong? And I didn't. Of course, I was going to read you all of the deets on it, and Guess I didn't write them down yet. I know I've been working on this a couple of years, and I know that I am using all of the DMC. It was charted with Weeks Dye Works and Classic Color Works and Gentle Arts, but I chose to just use the DMC for it because, in all honesty, in looking at the picture here or looking at the design, I think the only thing that would have really shown nicely with the variegation would have been the words at the top. I don't even think the house, the red, would have shown like that because it's really kind of a small area. But I'm very happy with this. I really do like this. I know Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. Hi, Sarah. Stitched this for her beloved Chester when he passed. And I still get a little lump in my throat when I think of Chester and the pictures that she used to post and him passing. We've all gone through it. Like I said, I'm on my 6th and 7th lab, so clearly I've been through that at least 5 times. And then there's the cats that I've always had. So, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't lessen the severity or the loss. Actually, tomorrow is the anniversary of one of my daughter's cats that was pretty much her second cat that she had, and he passed at 17. We actually had a 16th birthday party for him, a sweet 16 birthday. It was so cute. But anyway, so that's one stitch that I worked on. I spoke last time of my Americana blue and how I want to put 2 strands into it each week. And somebody who said it? I think it was Sew Me Sarah. She was asked, what do you mean by 2 strands? And she said, load your needle. Whether you use 1 strand of floss or 2 or 3, it doesn't matter with what you're stitching. Load your needle. If you want to work 1 strand, load your needle once. If you're going to do 2, load it twice, right? So I was only going to do 1. I was going to do 2 strands on a Sunday, and then I worked on this on Sunday, and by the end of the day, and I know many of us have said the same thing, our eyes get tired, and yes, sometimes I will pop on 2 pair of glasses, and it takes too long sometimes, and then I know that it's not the right stitch that I, should be stitching. So here I am. I did finish across the first line, and I did start the motif up in the corner. So I think, let me just take a gander at my pattern. That's pretty much what's going to be the width of my design. Now there's just a little bit more on a piece that comes out over here. So it might end up here. So, I'm kind of close, and I will take this piece to Hobby Lobby to have them frame it because they did frame my Americana red, and I was so very happy with that. And if it gets to the point that they say, you know what, we're just a little bit tight, I will just add on a piece of muslin, and then they'll have plenty to wrap. But I am using blue jeans, Weeks Dye Works blue jeans, which is the called for color. But I am using a different linen. And this one I do know that I have written down. I did start this on New Year's Day this year. This was my New Year's Day start. So I am stitching on 36 count Chocolate Milk by Seraphim. And oh boy, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now this one I am stitching in a hoop. Normally I do stitch in hand, but the linen itself, well, we all know linen has a mind of its own, and I cannot get my tension very good when I'm stitching on linen. But here she is here. You can see the fabric. It's very, very pretty. It does have some modeling in it. You can see some up at the top here. I am in the sunroom. It is later in the day, and the lighting is just a little different, but that's okay. I look out the sunroom window and there are leaves sprouting on my lilac tree right here. And this is a really nice lilac tree. It was supposed to be a lilac bush, and apparently I didn't read, because, you know, why would we read when we buy a lilac bush? And it is a lilac tree. So I am afraid that I might have to take it out at some point, because it is very close to my house and my gas line is right here. And they actually just this past winter, it was in January, thankfully they are done over here now. They took all of our gas meters from inside of our house and put them outside. So my front lawn is dug up. And I remember, I think my last video, I was talking about the track hoe and things moving in past my window, but they are, crossing my fingers, done with parking their stuff on my lawn and things. But somebody did leave their lunch container on my front lawn. Anyway, that's going to go in the garbage. So that was the second piece that I worked on this week. The other is, again, my temperature Quaker. Let me get the board for that. I stitch on this. I try to do it on Sunday, and then I stitch, you know, the week previously. I monitor the temperature all week long. I write it down on my calendar for my area. I do want to keep it as close to West Seneca as possible. Normally the temperature is done at the Buffalo airport, and that's, you know, 15-20 minutes away from me. So I really would like to keep it a little more local, because, you know, 1 degree could be a different color, right? So here I am. You can see I'm halfway through March. Oh, happy spring. Happy spring. The yellow, we did have a couple of 70-degree days, which was just glorious, absolutely glorious. But you can see that in the colors with the yellow and the orange and the brighter orange and the lighter green. We did have some warmer days. As a matter of fact, last week I started my seedlings in the house. Some flowers. I've got zinnia, sunflowers, carnation, snapdragons, and I started some plum tomatoes, and most of them have already popped through the ground. So I have my greenhouse sitting here in the sunroom, because why not, right? It's a cute little thing. It'll help my plants, and I'll be happy. Okay, so those were the only pieces that I actually worked on, except for my new start. And where is it? Here it is. Okay. So I have a good friend who is a quilter extraordinaire, and she, when she decided to stop her long-arming business, she gave my name to a lot of her clients. So I did pick up quite a few clients from her when she stopped long-arming for people. Now she did free motion quilting. I am not good at that. I have a computerized long arm. I have a Handy Quilter Forte, and it has Pro Stitch Premium on it, which is the computer program that makes the machine do the designs. Now, obviously, I just can't pop the quilt on there and go, right? No, I still have to figure out the pattern and make sure it fits and all this other stuff. But my point is, Pat had sent me her clients, or some of them, and you know, of course, I was very grateful for her, or to her. So she asked me a while back, she's like, hey, I want to start cross-stitching. I said, okay. She says, can you help me? Well, of course. Now, she is a master quilter. She's won awards for her quilts. She knits. She does all these things, but she doesn't cross-stitch. And I said, well, I can help you out. So she told me which pattern she bought. Got a tickle. She told me which pattern she bought. So I went and bought the same pattern, because I figured if I'm going to help her, I want to be doing the same thing. Now, when I bought the pattern, I bought the PDF, so I can't show you the actual pattern because I didn't print off the picture of the pattern. But it is called The Button Tree, and it is by The Drawn Thread. Now, if you're familiar with the pattern, it is just a tree, a very sparse evergreen type tree. It has a star at the top, and it has two birds at the bottom. It's very simple, or simplistic, I should say. It's not overly done. And then the decorations or the ornaments on the tree are antique buttons. So clearly you can do this whatever way you like. It was after the fact, after I was sitting there with her today, that I thought, oh, how pretty would a blue tree be with white ornaments? Because, you know, one of the Christmas trees I put up is actually the white tree with the blue lights and the antique ornaments from when I was a kid, right? So looking at this pattern, you could do whatever would be helpful for you. Now, there's only there's only 6 colors. The tree itself is supposed to be done in Weeks Dye Works Blue Spruce, but I didn't have that, and I wasn't going to make an order for one skein. So it did suggest mixing 2 DMC together to get that color, and I just didn't like it. So when I pulled out my fabric, now Pat was working on 14 count Aida. So again, I want to make sure that I'm working on the same count fabric she is so that it's easier for her to follow. I don't want to have all kinds of different things going on. So I dug through my stash because, you know, I do have some Aida, but I don't have a whole heck of a lot anymore because I really prefer stitching on Lugana. And I did take a lot of my white Aida and dye it, you know, coffee tea dye, just to play around with it. So for the most part, I do Aida stitching on, I'll do it for seasonal pieces, right? So I met with Pat today. We went to our local library, and there is a Spot Coffee there. And we met up, and I gave her the basics of how to start her cross stitch. Now, on this particular piece, I said to her, you know, it's just like when we're quilting. We look at the pattern and we figure out, you know, how do you want to start? How do you start when you make your quilts? Do you cut all of your fabric out, or do you start with certain blocks or whatever? I am the type of person, I do not cut all of my fabric when I make a quilt. I will just cut the blocks, and then after I assemble the blocks, then I'll worry about the border fabric and the binding and all that other stuff. I do not cut everything at once. So when I told her, I said, okay, so let's look at how we want to move through this chart. Now, I looked at it like the easiest way to attack this chart, if you look and know what this particular tree design looks like. The stars at the top, then the tree comes down with some sparse branches, birds at the bottom. I said, so I'm looking at this going, the easiest place to start this is right in the center. Normally I am a top left start, but I can start right in the center. The star is right there. So I said, let's start with the star. We'll do the outer layer of the star because there's 3 different colors in the star. I said, we'll do the whole outline of the star. Then you'll come back and do the next color of gold, and then you'll fill in the center. Then you can work it how it's going to work for you. I said, but I'm looking at this like I'm going to do the tree trunk all the way down to the base and kind of work from there and then do my branches. I said, this is a very easy pattern. She says, oh, it feels like I should have started with something easier. I said, this is easy, and it's not a difficult pattern. What she couldn't understand is, because we were starting at the top and working down, her brain is like, well, if you're going from the bottom up to make your cross and the bottom up to make the other side, why are we going sideways? And I said, well, as long as you make sure your bottom leg of your cross stitch goes from the bottom left to the top right, and then the top leg of your cross stitch goes from the bottom right to the top left, it doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that they look nice, that they're uniform. I said you want to avoid running your stitching along the back. I taught her how to do a loop start. She's like, oh my gosh. I said, well, we do want to try to make sure our back looks somewhat nice. I said, you want to avoid any knotting or anything like that. I said, because it's going to make it difficult when you go to frame it. If you mat it or something, you're going to have lumpy bumpies. So she did very well. And this is our start. We did the same amount because I would do it and then I would let her do it on her own, on her piece. And then I would come back and do the second row and she would do it. So I did it so she could come back and look and see. Now we didn't get a lot done, and I actually don't want to let my floss flop. But that is the start of the outer edge of the star at the top of the tree. Now these are the flosses that I'm using. I decided, as I said, I was going to use the 2 strands of DMC that they suggested for the tree. And then when I held it up to my Fiber on a Whim 14 count pistachio, it didn't look right. So I dug through and I found something that's somewhat almost like a greenish blue. I think this has more teal, dark teal in it, but it looks very nice. Now we are stitching 2 threads over 1. It's 14 count. And then the 3 shades for the star, this is the outer and then the middle and then the filler in the center of the star. It called for DMC white, but I took 5200 because we know that it's a little bit brighter. And the white is actually just the birds at the bottom. And I think that's going to look very nice. Let me go this way. So again, I am using the 14 count pistachio. It's by Fiber on a Whim. Love Fiber on a Whim fabrics. And I have decided that, you know, she was very happy to do this with me. Very grateful that I would make the time. And I said, well, of course. I love to stitch, right? You're a new stitcher. I want to help you be successful. I don't know, you know, how much I could teach her, but she asked me, she says, how long have you been cross stitching? And I said, well, more than 50 years. I can't even count anymore. That's a lot. It's a lot, right? But things have changed, and she had initially showed me the Ada that she bought, and she did buy some on Amazon. And she's like, it is really stiff. And I said, she says, I even washed it. I said, well, this probably wouldn't be the best fabric for this. And then she pulled out another piece, and I said, this will work. And it was just a plain white Ada. I said, this will work. I said, you can decide if you're comfortable stitching in hand. She is also a hand quilter, so, you know, she's used to tension. And that's the biggest thing that I see with stitching in hand, is making sure that your tension is even. Now, I used to make wedding dresses. I used to sew on beads and things like that. I have no problem hand stitching, right? I actually do the sewing method when I'm cross stitching. So I'm very confident with my tension. The only time I have an issue is when I'm using linen, or when I was using that 10 count, whatever it is, that I was working that Kim Deal pattern on, which I haven't even touched since I showed it to you. But anyway, so my friend Pat and I are going to be stitching this, and she did indicate, she says, I would like to get together again. I said, absolutely. I'm absolutely fine with that. So those are my 3 pieces that I have touched this week. Sliding off my chair here. The 3 pieces that I have touched this week, and then my new start for today. Now, what else do I want to show you? I'm going to hold on to this because it's starting to get a little dark in here, so I'm going to have to scoot through here. My question, what do you do with your orts? I know that we have our little thread beds and everything else, but when you catch your orts, or you're snipping your little threads, or you're frogging your floss, what do you do with your orts? Well, this is my 3rd year doing this, the plastic ornament. And in January, I take the ornament from the previous year and I put a little charm on it and decorate the top, whatever, with, you know, ribbon, whatever, hang it on the tree. Or, yeah, I can still get it on the tree because my trees don't come down till mid-January. But this is my ort ball for 2025. And, you know, right now I am looking at those greens and oranges. You see them in there? That's from that Quaker that I was just working on. Some of these are because I had to frog. And I didn't choose a larger ornament ball because I plan on doing a lot of frogging. I chose a larger ornament ball because I plan on stitching more this year. Now, I had at one time tried to do the same thing with bits of fabric from quilts and things that I had worked on, but there was so much, I needed a giant bowl. So that didn't kind of work out for me. But I actually have another idea in mind with some of my fabrics that I might try to do that with. So this is what I do with my orts. So what do you do with yours? Okay. Now let me show you my finishes. This particular piece I was taking with me when I was having my radiation treatments done at Roswell. And there were a couple things that I had been working on, and this was one of them. Just, obviously I can't work on it during the actual radiation treatment because, you know, you're laying there, but sitting there waiting for my turn, I had to have something in my hands because it's frightening, right? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's scary going through that. So I got this particular pattern, and I remember showing this to you before. I got this pattern. It was in the Missouri Star Quilt Company Advent box that they have every year, and I've been getting the box now at least the past 3 years, if not 4. I can't even remember any longer. But that you make your order probably in like July or August, and then it's delivered maybe the end of October, very early November. And then everything, you know, I have to hide mine because if I know that there's 25 goodies in a box waiting for me to open like a present, I hide it up in my sewing room. And then when it's December 1st, I start opening. And you know what? My birthday month is December, so I enjoy it. So this was in there. It was a complete kit. So I did finish it. I did fully finish it. Now, the kit came with small, plasticky, kind of clear iridescent beads. And honestly, I forgot to put them on when I was embroidering. And then I was going to go back and add them when I was done stitching. And I just didn't like them because I felt that they were too big and gaudy. So what I did was, if you can see, excuse me, I'm just going to pause a moment. Okay. I couldn't tell if I paused or if I was filming. Oh my God, somebody save me from myself. It's dog walking time in the neighborhood. So my neighbor's dog was barking. My guys didn't see the dog, or otherwise you would have heard them. Anyway, so I put beads on, if you can see. I used small glass beads. And I have red and blue, and I have silver, I have green. And they're tiny enough that, you know, if you look at it up close, you're going to see them. You know, I have different shades of blue in that, in various spots. But from far away, you really don't see them. You see the design. And that's what I like. So if you get up closer, you can see the beads. And from far away you can't. And the pattern was okay to follow. I couldn't tell in spots if I was supposed to do the French knot or not. So I just kind of, by the time I was finishing up with this, I was doing my own thing. And I still look at it and I'm like, did I miss something somewhere? I don't think so. But now the way this finished is you finished it in the frame in which you stitched it. Okay, the hoop. And then the hoop slid into this piece of wood and is held in place by that elastic. Now, when I first put the hoop in, the elastic was really loose. And, you know, this kept sliding down and you could see the opening up here. So I yanked on that elastic and I tied this girl tight. She's not moving. The other thing that I did was I added the little hook and then a 2025 charm. And I bought both of those off of Amazon. I have charms from 2024 and 2023. So if you would like a couple of charms to put on your work that you finished, please let me know. Because I think it comes in like 100 per package. And there is no way this girl is finishing 100 cross-stitch pieces in a year. It's not going to happen. So this piece I will hang for Christmas. And it does hang by the top of the hoop. So, you know, all in all, I'm not too terribly upset about it. It reminds me of, obviously, when I was doing my radiation. And I will more than likely add just a little bit of a note to the back of this just because. So, not that I'm going to forget, trust me. All right, now my other finish. So about a year, last summer, I was supposed to get together with a friend of mine and we were going to do some stitching, and it didn't happen. And I had pulled out a small pattern that I was going to take with me to stitch during our stitchy time. And I had everything all kitted up for it. And when we couldn't meet, I was like, oh darn, I really like that little stitch. So I'm going to do it anyway. So I knew that when I finished it, I wanted to finish it on this particular piece. So I laid it out purposely to finish or to stitch so that it would finish on this piece. Now, I found this huge bobbin at Hobby Lobby. And when I purchased it, it was actually on clearance. And I know they had some a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if they raised the price on them or whatever. But you see the stitched piece on here. Okay, and it says, in the rhythm of the needle, there is peace for our soul. Now, this was a freebie from Sherry, the Colorado cross stitcher. I believe I found it on her website. I have not looked to see if it's still there, but I know that I saw this back then and I, you know, downloaded it and saved it. So when I stitched this, if you look, I did a running stitch all along the top, and I used the same colors that were in the border. So I went all along the top, and like I said, I knew I was going to finish it on this piece. So then I made sure that I had enough at the back, and I did that running stitch. Initially, there was a piece, I think that was burlap that was on here, and I took that off. This is actually only a piece of PVC piping on like wood, right? So I put some batting under here, just a little bit. I painted this base because I think it was a lighter brown. This had some fabric on the top of it, but I had to cover it with Kim Deal fabric, of course. And then these pins that are here, they were in the Missouri Star box, and I'm going to show you the package that they were in. This particular trim was from my stash. It did have a border on the top and the bottom, a straight border, but it made the trim look funny. So I took that off, and then it made the trim look like applique. So I have that all the way around. And I'll tell you, the finishing gods were with me when I did this, because this trim literally met up at the back. It met right up. So right where I have my little charm, and again, I have a charm for 2024. That's where the back was. Now I took this piece of fabric and I laid it over the top, and I tried to, you know, ease it in a little bit. I did not do a running stitch to pull it around. I wasn't going to take the time. I didn't need to, because I knew I was going to come back and trim it with some trim anyway. So when I put the fabric on, I pulled it down a bit and then just trimmed off the excess. And I just used regular tacky glue, not the white tacky, not the tacky glue that's in the brownish bottle, but the clear, little bit heavier type glue. So that's this finish. Oh, and then I have these antique bobbins. The one was actually threaded. The red has the thread on it. It is so old. It was literally, as I was trying to pull it tight so it wouldn't come off the spool, it just kept snapping. And then, of course, this is an antique thimble. So all this together, and this stitch was really very fast. I used whatever I had. I don't know if I used her colors that she called for. I don't remember. I truly don't remember. But I'm very happy with her. She's really cute, and I'm kind of excited that I actually have a final finish there. But again, the pattern was Sherry Colorado Cross Stitcher, and you probably could go to her website and look, you know, free patterns and see if it's still there. It was a free download. Now, those pins that I just showed you on the bobbin there, or on the thread spool, came in this. Now, this little iron was in the Missouri Star box. It's very cute. And I was so surprised that when I opened it, because I was like, oh, look at that, isn't it cute? It's filled with finishing things. I said, oh my gosh. So, gotta get the glasses. Hang on. So, there's Christmas light bulbs, which are cute. There are two types of beads. There's like a pearl bead. Whoop. And then these are the glass beads and some bugle beads. And then we've got some buttons, you know, just cute little decorative buttons. And I'm not going to take them out of the package because there's some jingle bells. And then some, you know, rhinestone type things. And bows. And let's see if I can hold him up. 3 of the little Missouri Star ducks. Can we go like this? Ooh, look at me. I feel like I'm on TikTok and I'm an influencer. So, again, this was another one of the things in the Missouri box. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Now, I've gotten them for at least 3 years now. This past year was probably the best box. There was a lot of variety, and I like that. There was the embroidery project. There's another embroidery project that I was working on. I don't remember if I showed it. I haven't fully finished them yet. But they're Christmas trees, and they were embroidered as well. So that was the other thing that I was taking to Roswell with me when I was going for radiation. So there was a lot of things in there. There was sewing, there was embroidery, there was other crafting kind of things. There were little tchotchkes. This year they had measuring cups. Very nice, heavy weight glass type measuring cups with the Missouri Star logo on it. And they're very cute because last year they gave plastic plates, like sandwich plates, so that kind of matches. But I'm looking forward to it. I will more than likely buy it again. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I know the price was well over $200, but you're getting 25 days worth of presents, and you are worth it, right? So, okay. So those are my fully finishes. Those are my whips, my ort ball. So market, let me ask you, how much did you pre-order? Just asking for a friend. I have a bunch of stuff waiting for me at Hobby House when I go next month for a retreat for the Plum Street and Heartstring Samplery Retreat. That is next month at the end of April. It's being hosted by Hobby House and it'll be at the Woodcliff, and I am so super excited. I noticed last week I was contacted by a couple of new friends on my channel here, and one of the ladies will be going, so I'm so hoping that we can sit together and become stitching besties. I know that retreats are expensive, and I know Rochester is only an hour and 15 minutes from me, but if I drive back and forth to Rochester every day for this retreat, that's 2.5 hours that I'm going to take away from my stitching time. And if I can stay at the Woodcliff and come down into the lobby and sit there with some stitchy friends and with my slippies on and have some coffee, I'm going to be a happy girl. So yes, I know it's expensive. Yes, I know I'm going to be making purchases. I'm going to one retreat this year. I generally don't travel too much. If I do, it's, going to visit either my son in Florida or my daughter on Long Island. We are homebodies, my husband and I. We enjoy being here in the summer, working in the gardens. He does all the lawn stuff. He's that grumpy old guy yelling at the kids, "Get off my lawn." Not really. He's not like that. But we enjoy being home, sitting out on the deck, sitting next door, chatting with our neighbors. So we really don't do much. He's got a golf outing that he's going to go to this year. So those are like, two big things. And I'm very happy that he has things that he's interested in. Actually, he's bowling right now. That's his interest. And I'm here chatting with you. And then in June of 2026, and I know I mentioned this in my last Flosstube, Brenda Gervais will be there, June of 2026. Now, people, let me tell you, that retreat sold out in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I was on right at 5 o'clock. By 5:01, I was done. And then in less than 10 minutes, people were already saying, "Oh my God, it's sold out." What? So I am super excited to go in June of 2026. So I have 2 big retreats coming. And yes, I know they're expensive and some people just can't do them. I wouldn't be able to travel to the attic as much as I would love to. I wouldn't be able to head out to Utah or some of the other places. I would love to go to StitchCon, but sometimes it's just too much, So this works very well for me, and I'm super excited about getting to Hobby House to pick up my market personal presents. So one of the purchases that I made was the cookbook, and I've heard so many people talk about this cookbook, and I don't think I got last year's, but I did get 2023. I don't know why I didn't get last year. I think I waited too long and it sold out, right? So in 2023, I stitched a couple of things, the smalls from there. And as I was coming to do my filming, I thought, oh, let me grab this. This one is from the 2023 cookbook, and it's called My Happy Place. I don't remember who did it. I did frame this myself. I found this frame at Hobby Lobby. It fit perfectly. I did stitch it on linen, but I don't have my card. I know where it is. It's in my 2023 Book of Days book. But this I did from the cookbook. Now there is a little bit of, I do like to put some batting behind just to give it a little loft. But this one is called My Happy Place. And to be honest with you, I think it's shepherd's bush. See the sheep? So this was a very quick stitch. It did have a lot of colors if you really look at it. There are a lot of colors in this. But how cute is it? Look at that. It fits perfectly in this frame. And this was a Hobby Lobby frame. Came just like this. Popped it in there, good to go. So the cookbook has a lot of smalls in it, and I'm looking forward to it because there are times when you just look around and you want something small to stitch. You're working on the bigger projects and you want something that you can finish fast for some type of satisfaction, right? Because sometimes we work on things that just are so big and we don't feel like we're making progress, and we have to pick up something tiny to work on just so we can see that happen quickly. That's how it was with those 2 St. Patrick's Day pieces that I was working on that I didn't finish. Different story, different day. So let me show you one more thing that I chatted about last time. This is that Afghan that I'm making, and this is that corner to corner pixel Afghan that I asked if anybody had any help with, because oh my gosh, well, let me tell you, there's a lot more to it than just crochet, okay? And I'm figuring it out, and it's not difficult. It really isn't, but this was the pattern. And I got it off of Etsy. But all it is a chart. It's like basically buying a cross-stitch chart and with no information. Just telling you, if you want to know what size it's going to turn out, go click this link, right? It was literally just a chart. So you can decide to stitch regular single, double, triple crochet going the normal horizontal way. You could do corner to corner, which is what I'm doing, but you can do it in single, double, or triple. It would change the size. And then how much yarn do you need? You had to click on all these links to get that information, and it was very frustrating to me. But that's not to say I didn't start it. And my granddaughter really likes it. This one is actually for Samantha. She is 3, and I will do another one for Brielle. Now, oh my gosh, hang on. One of the things that they don't tell you about doing corner to corner Afghans is you need a ball of yarn for everything that you're working. So I literally right now have 5 different balls and skeins of yarn here, because you can't carry your yarn across to the next place. You kind of leave it there, you park it, and then you pick up another skein and you move forward. So it's a little messy. And of course I'm dropping it all over on the floor, and you know what that's going to mean. It means that it's going to be full of dog hair. So let me show you where I am at. And yes, I am stitching this corner to corner, so it is on the diagonal. And yes, I've made a mistake. One of the hearts on this Afghan has a little bit more love in it than the other hearts. So it does start in the corner. I'm just going to dump all this yarn on the floor here. It does start in this corner down here. So this is the actual corner. This is the bottom left-hand corner of the Afghan. And it is worked, if you see it, it's on a diagonal. And the reason it's folding is because the yarn is pulling it down. So this is part of another heart. This is the heart that I realized I had made a mistake in, and I said I am not going to fix it. If you can see, let me get my fingers on it. These 2 stitches out here are too much. It's not supposed to be there. Those are supposed to be white. So this heart has a little bit more love. And then I also have this purple heart that I'm working on. So if you look at the pattern, I'm down in this corner of the quilt, or the Afghan. And I know that this is in the way, but I've completed these over here, and it's not difficult. It's slightly challenging. Counting is involved, which is why one heart has a little bit more love than the others. So I do like the corner to corner look of the Afghan, because if you look at it, it looks like it is on the diagonal, because it is literally being stitched even though you're holding it horizontally when you're crocheting, when you hold the afghan upright, it is being worked diagonally. So I will work on this again tonight. I've been setting myself for an hour to do it, and I do have to add 2 more skeins of yarn to it. I did go to Hobby Lobby today and buy 10 more skeins of white because I was just like, you know what, just buy the white. Just buy the white. I know I have enough of the colors, but it's what they talk about when you do things like this is to make small balls of yarn to hold off on the back because you have so much that you're working with. So they call them, like when you butterfly the yarn, it looks like little butterflies. But so this one right here, of course, it's wound around another. Oh my God, I had such a mess with the yarn. So like this one here, this particular skein of yarn, when I stitch this skein, this particular skein will stop here, and then I'll pick up this purple, stitch to the end here, and then I will pick up another skein of white, which is here. So there's a lot of skeins floating around, but I am putting on another color of a heart tonight, so that means the color of a heart and another white that's going to have to go in there somewhere. So I think what I'm going to do is pop up one of the corner to corner videos and listen to, you know, how much yarn do you put into a ball, because it's just easier to move the afghan around with a small ball of yarn than a whole skein. So it's okay. I'm enjoying it. My granddaughter was so excited when she saw it. She's like, oh, it has hearts. You know, she's 3. She's adorable. So I asked her if she liked it, and she said yes. And then she was telling me all the colors of the yarn. So after I get done with this one for Samantha, I will probably go back and make one for Brielle, because, you know, they're both 3 and they're only 3 months apart. They were born 3 months apart. So different sons. They're not Irish twins. Oh my God, wouldn't that be? Whew. So, okay. So that is all. I'm just looking at all my stuff here that I've tossed on the floor. That's all I have to share with you tonight. I thank you very much for stopping by. Please hit the subscribe button. I am so close to 50 new friends. I would love to have 50 friends and even more. I would love it if you would like the video, subscribe, leave me a comment. I'm also going to pop my email address below. I did have a couple ladies reach out to me just to chit chat through email, which I thought was super nice. And I will put the link for the patterns that I've spoken of today, at least the one by the drawn thread, because I didn't have a picture to show. Oh, who did I watch on Flosstube? Oh my goodness. I watched the Primrose Ladies yesterday. Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. Sarah, hi. I watched Jess the Librarian. 2 Needles Pulling Thread. Oh my gosh, there were so many that I was popping through, and I didn't write them down. I did watch a couple more documentaries on YouTube, and I am also listening to the Outlander series on audiobook when I'm driving in the car. I'm on the 2nd book. The first book was like a full-time job. It was like 36 hours long. The second one is even longer. But I suspect I will be listening to the Outlander series this whole year, which is fine, because a few years ago I was in a car accident. Somebody ran a red light and T-boned me. And I literally had to drive again 2 days later through that same intersection. So it's taken me quite some time to relax when I'm driving. One of the things that I found to help me was listening to audiobooks. Not that I wasn't focusing on my driving. Trust me, I was like this, right? But I needed to calm down a little bit, because every time I saw a car coming, I was afraid I was going to get T-boned and have my truck tip, and it was a mess. Anyway, So if you have any good series that you're listening to or reading, let me know. The one year I decided, I believe it was it last year or the year before? Patricia Cornwell is one of my most favorite authors. And she writes about Dr. Kay Scarpetta, the medical examiner, forensic pathologist. And I listened to her entire series. Now, I read probably 80% of her books, physically read them, and I really enjoyed them. But I went back and I listened to them in chronological order. And then Louise Penny writes about Inspector Gamache up in Quebec in Canada. That was a lovely series too. I listened to all of her books as well. Very riveting. So, if you have something that you're listening to or liking, let me know. If there's something that you're watching on Netflix or whatever, let me know. I found, if you remember NYPD Blue, which was one of my most favorite shows back in the 90s, I found that on, I think it's on Netflix. Is it on Netflix? I can't even remember which one of the services it's on. But I've been watching, the old NYPD Blue. There's always Columbo, and there's always Murder, She Wrote. Boy, am I dating myself now. But that's okay. That's okay. Those were comfort shows when I was growing up. They were good, wholesome shows, and it was funny because I was watching a Murder, She Wrote it the other night, and Jessica discovers the deceased in the car, and she's got her hands on the car, and then the cop runs over and he puts his hands on the car, and I'm thinking, you can't do that now. They'd be like, don't touch it, it's evidence, right? It's funny, but those were some fun shows to watch. So if there's a book series that you are interested in, please let me know. I'm always looking for something new. I suspect that The Outlander will pretty much take up this whole year for me, but I'm on the second book right now. I think it's called Dragons of Amber, something like that. And I know when I get done with this one, I want to just detour for something short and brief, and then put my thoughts back on. Because if I have too much of it, and too much of it, and too much of it, I'm not going to finish it. Kind of like some of our cross-stitch projects. If we don't work on them and we just feel like it's going to take forever and ever and ever, it becomes a UFO. So, thank you, my friends, for spending some time with me. The sun is setting here. It's getting a little darker. I am going to go and do an hour's worth of work on this lovely crochet afghan. I then will do one strand on my Americana blue. And then who knows what I'll pick up next. I have plenty of whips to choose from, and I love them all. And trust me, I had my hands in my my things upstairs, my fully kitted things, and I'm like, I want to stitch this and I want to stitch this. No, Barb, let's finish what we have started. Plus, of course, there's always the quilting stuff, which I'm not even going to talk about today. So I wish you well. I will see you back hopefully in a week. Next week might be, well, I know it's going to be pretty busy for me. I'm hoping I can film next Friday. We'll see how it goes. It's always a pleasure to have you here in my sunroom, and I look forward to stitching and chatting with you again. Bye for now.